Hello, we're going back to Psalm 50 today, the verse, "For in sacrifice you take no delight, burnt offering from me you would refuse. My sacrifice, a contrite spirit, a humbled contrite heart, you will not spurn." Episode 12, L is for Lamb. For in sacrifice you take no delight. Well, ain't that the truth? I think most of us say that. Sacrifice has never been less popular than today. In fact, it's often seen as foolish in our society, in the world we live in, where the prevailing attitude is you do you, or I'm doing me today. We don't like to give away anything of our own comfort. But the fact is that sacrifice is necessary, and not just the sacrifice against our own will, because that is no sacrifice at all. Actually, the sacrifice that we choose is necessary for all of us in order to be fully human. Why is this? Why should I ever give away what's mine? Well, the fact is that actually nothing really is mine. Everything comes from God. Everything is a gift. You might then turn around and say, but God doesn't need sacrifice. He doesn't need anything at all. No, he doesn't. But he knows that we do. It's necessary that he give us some means of letting go of ourselves, because letting go of the self is part of love. And love cancels out sin. Love makes us whole again. It's a paradox that we must lose in order to gain, that we must make ourselves nothing in order to be everything. Lent is about sacrifice and giving, yes, but really so that something within me can change. Hence David's psalm speaking of the contrite heart. In the Old Testament there were several kinds of sacrifice that were prescribed by the law, but the most important of all was called the burnt offering or holocaust, where an animal, typically a lamb, was offered in its entirety to the Lord, not piecemeal. And Jesus represents this lamb. He's called the Lamb of God by his disciples at the beginning of John's Gospel. And then at the end of it, when he mounts the cross, he is killed at exactly the same moment as the lambs are slaughtered in preparation for the Passover feast. He is the fulfillment of the Passover lamb, which was a symbol. He gives himself to be eaten by his friends in order that they might be rescued, not merely from slavery in Egypt, but from the slavery of sin and death itself. No other sacrifice than that of the incarnate Son of God could be so complete, because the offering must be made by love, and Jesus, being the Son of God, has love which is divine. We cannot respond in kind with our imperfect love, but yet we can give something. Rather like the widow who had only 2 small coins to put into the treasury, but put in all she had, we can present the contrite heart that David speaks of as a very fitting sacrifice. When it is in response to the sacrifice of Jesus, his love begets love. When we perform all the actions of our day, no matter how mundane they may seem for him, our heart is bruised and humbled a little, and yet in that process it is opened and all the more able to receive his sanctifying grace. When I'm not so full of myself, through sacrifice I can receive him. In the festivals of old, the Jewish people gave a lamb to God, but we can actually give the heart of his Son to him. But maybe this comes about only when we realize we have nothing else to offer. For in sacrifice you take no delight, burnt offering from me you would refuse. My sacrifice, a contrite spirit, a humbled contrite heart, you will not spurn.